two things today. First, it's looking like it's going to rain, and I really hope it does because there's way too much harvest dust in the air, and it's really wreaking havoc with my respiratory system. I don't know if I've mentioned before, but I do have asthma, and typically the fall harvest and the spring growth are the two hardest times of the year when it comes to that. Woke up in the middle of the night, about 2:30 in the morning. Couldn't breathe. Had an asthma attack. Had the inhaler there. It was totally fine. I mean, a few puffs, a couple minutes later, things were good, but it's just annoying, especially because I have a newish doctor. I've only met her one time, but she's been my doctor, my primary doctor, for about a year. But she only gives me 2 refills at a time on the inhaler. So I pick up one and then I have one more refill and that's it. I mean, she's been good about like re-upping them. But essentially what it seems like she's doing is like seeing if I'm using it too much and then wants to start me on a different medication, because we had that discussion when I was in there. She's like, oh, well, if you're using it this many times, well, I'm using it when I need it, lady. Just trust me as the patient. Give me the inhaler. It's what I'm used to. It's what works. It helps. I know she's the doctor. I know doctors are supposed to know more than us as humans. Patients. Doctors are obviously humans too. But good grief, like, if I have something that works for me, why are you trying to push something else? Why are you trying to make it a bigger problem than it is? So that's annoying. But basically, there's some good cloud cover right now. It does look awful sunny off to the east. Out in the east. To the east. However you want to word it. But I'm hoping for at least a little rain today to kind of suppress some of that, like I said, the harvest dust that's in the air from these dry fields. The second thing, we watched the movie Despicable Me last night, yesterday afternoon. We watched it before 100 times, actually. It's one of Ellie's favorites, so it's like on repeat in our house. I have noticed something in that movie that I take issue with. A couple of things. But the one that I want to talk about the most is the 3 girls and their dance class. You have to remember, these 3 girls came from an orphanage, Miss Hattie's Home for Girls, where Miss Hattie didn't seem all that inclined to love on them or take care of them. They were crammed in a small bedroom with the beds side by side. Miss Hattie had the box of shame, or whatever it was called, box of punishment, in her office, which was literally a cardboard box with a slit cut in it. So she wasn't a particularly caring woman, as is the case with most orphanages in movies, it seems like. Sidebar, that's kind of my impression of orphanages. Like, I've never visited one. I probably should. But the impression that you get is that they're terrible, terrible places, and I don't think that's the case. Anyway, after the girls are adopted by Gru and taken in, one of the first things they do is he's ready to go and deliver the cookies so his robots can break into Vector's fortress, and the girls are dressed in pink leotards and tutus saying we have to go to dance class. And this would be all fine and good if Gru gave any inclination that he cared about them or maybe enrolled them in a dance class. But you can tell they've been enrolled in it for a while because it says they have a recital coming up and they're doing an excerpt from Swan Lake. And this thing has been planned for a while. and they're prepared enough to where they feel comfortable performing in it. Well, one, the girls are of varying ages. You have Agnes, Edith, and Margot. Margot being the oldest, Agnes being the youngest. Their age gap would not put them in the same dance group in reality, in my opinion. I think Margot's like, I don't know, I'm going to say she's like between 8 and 10, and then Agnes is like 4 or 5. So I don't think that is realistic. I realize the movie is about an oddly shaped supervillain with an ominous, unidentifiable accent who has little yellow bean people working for him. But let's rein it in. The girls are in this dance class. Road construction. And they're at a point where they're ready to give a recital. Like, I don't think so. Like, who enrolled them in this class? Were they pre-enrolled in it? Like, before their parents left/died? Like, I don't know where their parents are, first of all. And then, secondly, how are they still enrolled? Like, do they just... I know they go out and sell cookies without their orphanage sponsor person. So they're just free, apparently, to roam the streets whenever they like. But how do they get to this class? Like, does Miss Hattie take them? Do they walk? Do they take public transportation? And if so, if they have that figured out, then why in the world do they need Gru to take them? Secondly, does Gru live so close to the orphanage? Secondly, maybe thirdly, fourthly, does Gru live so close to the orphanage that their school hasn't changed, their dance studio hasn't changed? Like, I don't know about you, but I don't think most people adopt from an orphanage in the same area. Goodness gracious, folks. Not necessary. My goodness. Good, move on. Sorry. So that's, I don't understand that part of the movie. And then finally, another part of the movie that I don't like, and I don't like it in reality either, is the way the news station covers the news. They're just there to scare you. They want you to feel insecure. And the bigger problem is that these anchors are so disconnected. The people that are in charge of delivering the news, which anymore is just bad news, they're so disconnected. Like, they can just go from topic to topic without any thought or feeling at all. And I realize it's not their job to impose how we're supposed to feel, but really, that's what they're doing. It's like, we're going to present this in the scariest way possible so that you feel afraid. But we're not going to show that we're afraid or that we are even emotionally connected at all. And I say this because... It'll only take a couple more minutes. I say this because this morning I heard on the radio more coverage of the Las Vegas shooting. And the guy's just reading off. First of all, he's one of the most annoying radio anchors I've ever heard. And he's just reading off the stats. He's like, oh yeah, they found 23 guns in his hotel room and another 19 at his house, and there's 59 people dead and over 500 injured. And in other news, and it just goes right at, spending no time, no connection, no shock factor on his end. Like, really? Would they lose their job if they showed a little emotion and didn't just monotonously? Is that a thing? talk about what happened, what terrible thing happened. Drives me nuts the way the news media is run. Drives me nuts that it even exists. Like, let's just go back to newspapers. That way at least we can decide which part of it we want to read and put our own feelings into it. I realize it's not instantly updated, but maybe that's not what we need. I've talked about this before. We don't need instant updates on everything all the time.